We are spending the next 18 minutes with storytelling. I will tell you lots of little real-life stories to hopefully make my point very clear, and you will get 3 core messages to take home. My goal is for you to become the best storyteller or unstoryteller you can be. Here we go. Who of you believes you are a good storyteller? Please raise your hand. Great. For those of you who raised your hand, I would love to hear some of your stories later on when we have time for networking. For those of you who have not raised your hand, I would like to say think again. You are good storytellers. You do it all the time. The question is rather, are you telling good or bad stories? Let's take this moment as an example. Looking around, I can see many faces looking at me right now, with very little emotional expression. That's a fact. That's neither good or bad. Now my mind starts to make sense of this situation and creates thoughts around it, like a story. I could think, they don't like what I'm saying. They're not interested. Otherwise they would be nodding or smiling. These thoughts will create emotions. They will make me feel uncomfortable, unhappy, unfulfilled. A full firework of negative emotions are firing off in just a split second. Now my thoughts and my emotions will create my reaction. They will guide me to react to the situation. So how do you think I will react when I tell myself they don't like me or what I have to say? I will not be passionate and engaged. I will not be connecting well with you, and I will not be giving a captivating speech because my mind is so busy with my negative emotions that I will create the very experience I am fearing the most. This is also called self-fulfilling prophecy. Or I could tell myself, they are following my talk very attentively. They are concentrated. They're thinking about what I'm saying. That will create positive emotions in me. I will feel interesting and relevant. I create a positive story in my head about how you are listening to me, and that will inspire me to be more engaged, more motivated, and to connect more with you and give you more of what I can give. Even if I might have been nervous at the beginning, the passion and the positive energy will create a much better situation for all of us, right? Now, both streams of thoughts are nothing more than the story I tell myself to explain the situation to myself. It has nothing to do with reality, because I have not asked your opinion yet, right? It's just internal talk. My story. Let me put that in a really easy example for you, in a model for you. So the model is called facts, which are neither good or bad. They lead to thoughts and emotions. Now thoughts and emotions then can become positive or negative. And according to the thoughts and emotions, that leads to the reaction, and the reaction leads to an outcome. Now, where does the sweet spot lie in this model that can change everything? The sweet spot lies between the facts and the thoughts. It's in this moment where you have a choice. You always have a choice in the split second between the facts and the thoughts to either focus on the positive or the negative. It's in your hands to change your life. The first of my 3 core messages is choose your story. Choose possibility instead of problem. Choose gratitude instead of fear. Choose connection instead of rejection. And choose them in both directions. Inwards towards yourself and outwards towards others. When I choose to think positively about you looking at me right now, it will inspire me to be my best, and that will create a moment of connection and inspiration. Now, where choose your story also came in handy was in a situation with a former boss of mine. When he got under stress, he became unfriendly and sometimes even attacked people around him. As a trained lifesaver, I have learned not to swim too closely to people who are drowning, as they're trying to get a hold of you to push themselves up while they push you down. which would put both at risk to die. Don't make their fear your fear. When people are too stressed, fearful, angry, or otherwise in distress, keep a safe distance. Sometimes you wait for the swimmer to become unconscious before you get close to make sure you do not put yourself in danger while helping. This lifesaver lesson has helped me while interacting with my former boss. I choose to let the wave of distress pass by me without taking anything personal. I kept a safe distance. That was my story, until he was ready to deal with me in a much more appropriate manner. You might ask now, how do I know if I make good or bad choices, or if I tell myself good or bad stories? That's easy to answer. You will know if you tell yourself good or bad stories by the way you are feeling. In the example with my former boss, I did not feel upset at all, as I told myself that his reaction had nothing to do with me, and I did not believe I needed to do anything as long as he was in this bad state. I could have also told myself the story about how terribly he was behaving towards me, or that he should not react that way at all. Guess how that would have made me feel. Let's take it a step further. What enables me to make good choices? The best navigation point to make good choices is to know my intention. To be able to see my intention, I need to be very present and not caught up in the story. What do I want to achieve with my story? What outcome do I wish to create? If I would have taken the bad temper of my boss personally, I would have probably wanted revenge, or at least an apology. If my intention is to stay respectful, again, towards me and my needs, as well as towards him and his situation, I can see the solution much easier, which is to stay out of his way. That's the difference between drama versus happiness or peace. I feel drama when I feel anger, stress, resentment, victimhood, frustration. I feel peace or happiness when I feel in charge, connected, contributing, present, authentic. Now it's not only me that puts stories into my head with my self-talk. Many people did so in the past and still do so today, and often we don't even recognize it. Let's look at some examples. I went to a party and my friend Marianne said, "You have to meet my cousin. She's so much like you. You will get along with her so well." And on she went, and guess what? My subconscious mind was so prepared to welcome her that when I actually met her, we started off on a much more accepting note than I would have with any other person that I met for the first time. At another party, an old classmate of mine came up to me and said, "Oh, there is this lady again. She's always drawing all the attention at every event towards herself. She's so egocentric. That is so off-putting." At the first story this lady is sharing and getting lots of attention, I caught myself to judge her before I got to know her. I was ready to confirm my classmate's observation and keeping my distance when I recognized my preconception. And I changed my intention from judging her to first wanting to get to know her. Yes, she drew a lot of attention towards herself. She seemed to be very hungry for attention. Maybe she didn't get enough in her life. But boy, was she entertaining. I happily joined her show, and by the end of this evening, we were becoming friends. So here's another important lesson to learn. Your story is not my story. This attention-seeking lady was totally off-putting for my classmate, yet very entertaining to me. We can experience the same situation, yet we might have totally different views on what we experience. There is not one reality. There is only your reality and my reality. Let me repeat this. There is not one reality. There is only your reality and my reality. Understanding this fully, and that means being aware of it as often as possible in all interactions with people, has enabled me to be in conflict situations without insisting on my story or my perception of reality, and allowed me to be more open and curious about other people's reality and their story. Again, when you are open and curious, you have a much better possibility to influence situations, or at least not follow other people into their drama. Then there are old and hidden stories. Stories from the past that often linger with us for years or sometimes even a lifetime undetected. They affect how we see the world and how we behave. Who of you grew up with princess stories? Okay, who was hoping to find Prince Charming one day? Who is still looking for Prince Charming today? All right, thank you. Good luck. Well, let me share with you how I found the love of my life, and he's not Prince Charming the way I envisioned. Here I was, dating, and dating again, and dating again, and dating again, and I couldn't find him, my Prince Charming. I was looking for perfection, and of course, no one is perfect, including me. It was painful. Reality did not match with the story in my head. No one was good enough. It caused me to expect and to judge instead of falling in love. On top of it, I also felt bad about myself, because I certainly also did not live up to the princess story either, neither in looks, in brains, and certainly not in financial means. That meant more pain and loneliness, even when I was in a relationship. When the pain is strong enough, we rethink and learn. I dropped the princess stories and changed my intention. My new story was to find someone who is reliable, fun, trustworthy, someone who is strong enough to deal with me, someone I can be eye to eye with and yet still admire him, just as he admires me for who I am. I changed my intention and found the love of my life. This brings us to the second core message. Use your story. By telling yourself the story that is empowering, motivating, and guiding you to the desired outcome, you're taking full ownership and control over your amazing brain power and emotional capacity. Don't give this power to others and their story. Choose your story and become the creator of your life by using your story. To become a master of this, you need to become an observer of your emotional state. Are you happy, full of life, and peaceful? Or do you live a drama full of bad emotions, fear, anger, or resentment? Then you want to understand the story you're telling yourself or others put onto you. Get clear on your intention for what you want to create, and then choose your story and use your story until your life reflects your story. Who of you have worked with mantras or positive visualizations? Please raise your hand. They are powerful tools to use your story. The better you get at it, the more you are creating your future proactively. Your brain will point out all the possibilities as soon as it gets a clear picture or story as a guideline. Now, before we get to the third core message, I would like to warn you. Once you get really good with choosing and using your story, you will want to teach this ability to everyone around you. This is so life-altering that you wish for all the people you care about to learn this. When I learned to become a positive storyteller, oh boy, was I on a roll. People around me can tell you stories about that. Have you ever been in a really negative state and someone came along all energized and happy and said, "Hey, look at the bright side of it"? Yet, you didn't want to? So, choose your story and use your story wisely. Now, the next step is not for everybody. A lot of people don't like it or cannot really follow us there, but it's the next step, so let me share it with you. What would happen without a story? Imagine you're giving a talk and people look at you with very little emotional expression, yet you have no story. Imagine you see a person at a party drawing and needing all the attention, yet you have no story. Imagine your boss is acting unpleasant in a stressful situation, yet you have no story. Stories always happen with a strong connection to the past or to the future. Experiences from the past still linger with us and influence us, as well as the fear of what might happen in the future. Without a story, we become very present. No opinion or pain from the past. No fear for the future. No judgment, just open sensors. With open sensors comes clarity, curiosity, and sometimes even empathy. Without a story, we are clear to see what is true in this moment and can act freely and honestly. By acting freely and honestly, we are most authentic and real. We all have experienced people like that. Their presence leaves a strong impression. My 3 core messages for you are: choose your story, use your story, and maybe even lose your story. How would your life change if you could learn to act on these 3 core messages? How would your self-esteem strengthen? How would your relationships improve? How much more successful would you be?